I carefully wrapped the small wooden box, tying the ribbon just right. It's nothing fancy, I muttered to myself, but maybe she'll like it. My hands trembled slightly, even though I'd made hundreds of gifts like this before. Handmade, simple, honest, that was me. Hey, is that for her? My friend, Elias, leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. He always seemed to notice everything. Yes, I said, trying to sound casual. I just thought she might enjoy it. Elias raised an eyebrow. You mean her? The one who criticizes everything? She's charming, I said, quickly. At least, that's how she seems. Elias shook his head. Just be careful, all right? Not everyone appreciates kindness the way you do. I nodded, though I wasn't sure what he meant. I didn't think anyone would mock a simple gift. Later, I found her in the garden, sunlight bouncing off her perfectly styled hair. She smiled as I approached. Oh. You made something, she said, her tone light but sharp. Yes, I said, holding out the box. I thought you might like it. She took it delicately, pretending to examine it. Then her lips curled into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. This is quaint. Really sweet of you. I mean, it's adorable, in a very simple way. My chest tightened. Simple. You know, she said, tilting her head, like a child's craft project. I didn't expect anything else from you, really. I forced a smile, though my hands shook. I just wanted to do something nice. Of course, she said, her laugh soft and mocking. That's charming, in its own way. I swallowed hard, the sting of her words sharper than I'd imagined. I wanted to say something clever, something that would make her see me differently, but no words came. Elias appeared beside me, his presence steady. She's testing you, he said quietly. Don't take it to heart. She doesn't like it, I whispered, more to myself than him. Elias nodded. Not yet. Some people only see what they want to see. Keep your heart, but guard it, okay? I nodded again, still staring at the box in her hands. She handed it back, still smiling that same sharp smile. Well, thank you anyway. It's memorable. Memorable, I repeated silently, tasting the word like bitterness. Later, I walked home slowly, thinking about every glance, every word. Was my gift really so insignificant? Or was it something in me she didn't want to see? My hands still itched to create, to craft, to offer simple joys. I didn't know if she'd ever appreciate them, but I couldn't stop. I'll be careful, I whispered to myself, thinking of Elias's warning. But I won't stop being me. And even as her laughter echoed in my mind, sharp and teasing, I held on to that thought. My heart was still open, fragile but determined, ready to give, even if the world wasn't ready to receive. I had spent all morning arranging small notes on the table, each one with a few lines I hoped would make her smile. When I approached her later, I tried to sound casual. I thought you might like these, I said, holding out the stack. She glanced at them, brows raising. Oh, these are handwritten. Her voice was soft but carried a trace of amusement. How quaint. I swallowed. I just wanted to do something nice. Her laugh rang across the room, light but cutting. Nice? Sweet, even. It's very old-fashioned, like something from a storybook. She handed the notes to a nearby friend. Look at this, everyone. Isn't it adorable? A few people chuckled, and I felt my stomach twist. I didn't mean for, I started, but she interrupted. No, it's fine. Really, I appreciate the effort. It's just, she tilted her head, eyes glinting. I didn't know you had such primitive tastes. My hands trembled slightly as I took the notes back. I just thought it would make you happy. Happy? She echoed, smiling. You're funny, really. That's cute. I looked away, focusing on the floor. The laughter, though light, stung more than I could say. Later, I found Elias leaning against the railing outside, arms crossed. Rough? He asked. You have no idea, I muttered, rubbing my hands together. I just wanted her to see. I care. She sees, Elias said carefully. But she also sees an opportunity to laugh. That's her way. I shook my head. It doesn't feel like a joke. It feels like humiliation. That's exactly what it is, he said gently. But you can't let her define your worth. You need to be smarter about who you give your heart to. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. I like her. I thought she'd appreciate the thought, not ridicule it, he finished for me. Yeah, I get it. But charm can hide cruelty. Keep your kindness, but don't let her clip your wings. The next evening, there was a small gathering at the local cafe. I brought my homemade pastries, hoping to impress quietly. She arrived shortly after, smiling at everyone. Oh, what's this? She said, spotting my tray. You made these yourself? Yes, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I thought people might enjoy them. She took one delicately, pretending to savor it. Then she looked around dramatically. Very rustic, isn't it? Not like the pastries we're used to. A peer laughed, pointing at me. Yeah, looks like a bakery for kids. My cheeks burned. It's homemade, I said quietly. I made them with care. She tilted her head at me, a sly smile curling her lips. Care, yes. But let's be honest, it's not exactly gourmet. I felt my throat tighten. I didn't expect anyone to. Expect what? She interrupted, still smiling. Perfection. That's not your style, is it? I sank into my seat, barely touching the pastries. My heart raced with embarrassment. Later, Elias found me sitting outside, hands over my face. Hey, he said softly. Talk to me. What happened? She made me look foolish, I admitted, voice shaking. In front of everyone. He sat beside me. I know. And it hurts. But her words aren't truth, they're performance. She hides behind that charm. I shook my head, still upset. I thought I knew her. Sometimes, we like someone so much we ignore what's right in front of us, he said gently. It's okay to be hurt. Just, don't let her make you small. I nodded, taking a shaky breath. I won't. I don't want to be small. Elias put a hand on my shoulder. Good. Learn from this. Pay attention to actions, not smiles. And when the time comes, you'll know what to do. I looked out at the fading sky, her laughter still echoing in my mind. I want it to be enough, I whispered. You are, Elias said firmly. Just not for her. And in that quiet, I realized something important, my affection had blinded me. She wasn't the person I thought she was, and the mask she wore had fallen, leaving me raw, but awake. I stared at my reflection for a long time that morning, wondering what she saw when she looked at me. Maybe I'm just, not enough, I muttered. Maybe she's right. Elias's voice came from behind me. You're talking to the mirror again. That's a bad sign. I sighed. Maybe I deserve how she treats me. Maybe I made her think I'm small. He pulled out a chair and sat across from me. No one deserves mockery for being kind. You didn't do anything wrong. I don't know, I said, rubbing my temples. She smiles at others like they matter more. She talks to me like I'm some joke she can't stop laughing at. Elias leaned forward. And yet, you're still thinking about her. I can't help it, I admitted quietly. When she laughs with them, I keep hoping she'll look at me that way again. The way she used to, before she started mocking me. He shook his head. She never stopped playing. You just stopped pretending not to see it. That stung. I looked down. Do you think she even knows how much she's hurting me? She knows, he said. She just doesn't care. I wanted to argue, but something inside me hesitated. The memory of her laughter the night before was still sharp. She'd been sitting beside a new guy, someone confident, polished, with the kind of smile that commanded attention. When I'd walked past, she'd said, "Oh, don't mind him. He's just a friend who tries too hard." Her friend had laughed, and I'd stood there frozen, forcing a smile like it didn't matter. But it did. Elias noticed my silence. What did she say this time? I hesitated. Nothing new. Just words that hurt. He sighed. And you keep giving her power by caring. I know. I rubbed the back of my neck. It's not easy to stop. I want to believe she's not that cruel. She's showing you who she is, he said. You're just not listening. I wanted to shout, to say he was wrong, but I couldn't. Later that day, I saw her at the cafe again. She was sitting with that same guy, the one with the perfect hair and careless grin. I hesitated before approaching, but she noticed me first. "Oh," she said brightly, "you're here." "Yeah," I said softly. "I just came to grab a coffee." Her friend smirked. "You're the one who makes the handmade gifts, right?" I felt my jaw tighten. "Yeah. I like doing things myself." He laughed. "That's cute." She covered her mouth, pretending to hide a laugh. "Don't tease him," she said lightly. "He means well. He's just simple." "Simple," I repeated under my breath. "Right." She looked at me, eyes unreadable. "Don't take it personally. It's just the way people see you." I forced a small smile. Maybe people should try seeing differently. Her friend chuckled. "Touchy, aren't we?" I turned and walked away before I said something I'd regret. My chest burned, not from anger, but disappointment. When I reached Elias later, he saw the expression on my face and didn't need to ask. "What happened this time?" "She called me simple." "Again." He sighed. "She's testing you. Seeing how much she can take before you break." "I already feel broken," I said. "And the worst part? She's so kind to everyone else. She hugs them, laughs with them, compliments them. But with me, she's sharp." "That's because she knows you'll take it," he said. I swallowed hard. Maybe I should confront her. Tell her how cruel she's been. Would that change her? "I don't know," I said honestly. "But I'm tired of pretending it doesn't hurt." Elias leaned back. "Then stop pretending. But choose your words carefully. Sometimes silence cuts deeper than shouting." I nodded slowly. Maybe silence is all I have left. That evening, she texted me. "You left so suddenly. Are you upset?" I stared at the screen for a long time. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I wanted to write, "Yes. You humiliated me." But instead, I just wrote, "No. I'm fine." Her reply came fast. "Good. Didn't mean to offend you. You're just sensitive sometimes." Sensitive. The word dug under my skin. When I told Elias, he let out a low whistle. "And you still think she's not cruel?" I didn't answer. My heart was too heavy for words. The next day, I found out she'd told that new guy something else, that I'd been clingy and emotional. I heard it from someone else, someone who thought they were doing me a favor by warning me. When I confronted her, she just smiled. It was just a joke. Don't be so serious. A joke? I repeated, my voice barely steady. Yes, she said calmly. You're taking things too personally again. I felt my stomach twist. You really don't see it, do you? How you make people feel small. She tilted her head. I just say what I think. If that bothers you, maybe you're too fragile for honesty. Her words hit like stones. That night, Elias found me outside again. What happened? She said I'm too fragile for honesty, I said quietly. Maybe she's right. He shook his head. No. She confuses cruelty with honesty. Don't let her redefine you. I closed my eyes, the last of my anger melting into something colder, resolve. Maybe it's time I start seeing her for who she really is. Elias nodded slowly. That's the first step. And somewhere deep inside, I felt the first crack of something breaking, not my heart this time, but my illusion of her. I can't believe this, I whispered, staring at the screen as the applause echoed through the hall. My project, the one I'd spent months perfecting, was displayed behind her name. Not mine. Hers. She stood at the podium, poised, smiling like she deserved it. Thank you all, she said sweetly. This project was a personal challenge, but I poured my heart into it. My hands trembled. She didn't. Those words should have been mine. Every chart, every line of data, mine. Beside me, my mentor leaned closer. Did she just? Yes, I croaked. She took everything. He exhaled sharply. You have to speak up. How? I muttered, my throat tightening. Look at them, everyone believes her. The principal stepped forward to congratulate her, shaking her hand like she'd just cured a disease. Cameras flashed. My stomach twisted. When the ceremony ended, I approached her. Congratulations, I said, trying to steady my voice. She turned, her smile razor-sharp. Oh, thank you. I didn't expect it to go this well. You mean my work didn't expect to go this well, I shot back. Her eyes sparkled with mock innocence. Your work. Oh, come on. You helped, sure, but you know how teamwork is. Everyone contributes. There was no team, I hissed. You asked to review my drafts, remember? You copied everything. Her smirk deepened. I refined it. You should be grateful, it finally got recognition. My voice cracked. You stole it, and you know it. Her laughter was soft, cruel. You sound so dramatic. Relax. It's just a school project. A project I spent months on. People nearby turned their heads. She noticed and lowered her voice, lips curling. If you make a scene, you'll only embarrass yourself. The words sliced deeper than I expected. She was right, if I shouted now, they'd think I was jealous, bitter, desperate. My mentor joined us, his tone calm but firm. I saw the drafts. The code, the designs, they're identical to his. She blinked, her expression instantly shifting into wide-eyed innocence. I think there's a misunderstanding, sir. We shared ideas. Maybe he's confused. I clenched my fists. Confused? Yes, she said sweetly. It happens. Some people imagine things when they feel left behind. I felt the heat rising in my face. You. The principal walked up, smiling at her. Excellent work. You'll represent the school at the regional fair. I froze. Regional fair. That was my goal. Months of effort, all handed to her. My mentor interjected carefully, Sir, there may be a mistake. But the principal cut him off. The committee reviewed everything. She earned it fair and square. Her eyes flicked toward me, victorious, smug. I wanted to scream. Instead, I managed a hollow whisper. How could you? She leaned close, her perfume sharp and suffocating. Because I could, she murmured. And you let me. Her words shattered something in me. After she walked away, I stood there, empty, humiliated, numb. The crowd thinned, but I couldn't move. My mentor put a hand on my shoulder. You have proof, don't you? I deleted the drafts after sending her copies, I said quietly. I trusted her. He sighed. That trust was your mistake. I know. My voice barely escaped my throat. I thought she just mocked me before. I didn't think she'd. People like her, he said softly, hide their cruelty behind charm. You saw what she wanted you to see. I laughed bitterly. And I wanted to believe it. Listen, he said, turning me toward him. This doesn't define you. You can rebuild, prove yourself again. But not if you let this break you. I feel like it already has. He shook his head. Then don't let it stay that way. I nodded faintly, but my chest still burned. She didn't even hesitate, I muttered. She looked me in the eye and lied. That's what makes her dangerous. Silence stretched between us. The echoes of applause still rang faintly from the hall, mocking me. Finally, I asked, do you think people will ever know the truth? Eventually, he said. Truth has a way of surfacing, slow, but steady. I looked down at my trembling hands. I thought being kind was enough. He gave me a sad smile. Kindness isn't weakness. But it needs a backbone. For a moment, I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that goodness could still mean something after this. But all I could see was her smile, flawless, composed, victorious. When I finally left the hall, I caught a glimpse of her surrounded by students, laughing, posing for pictures. Someone handed her flowers. She accepted them like a queen. As I passed, she met my gaze. For a split second, her eyes hardened, then she smiled again, all charm and light. And that's when it hit me. She hadn't just stolen my work. She'd stolen how people saw me. My mentor's voice echoed in my head, don't let it stay that way. But as I walked out into the cold evening air, I wasn't sure I could undo it. Not yet. All I knew was that something inside me had cracked, and whatever came next, I wouldn't be the same. I didn't sleep last night, I admitted, staring at the mug of untouched tea on the table. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her smiling. Like she won something sacred. My mentor didn't say anything at first. He just let the silence stretch between us. It was the kind of silence that didn't demand to be filled, it simply waited. Finally, he asked, and what do you want to do about it? I don't know, I said, rubbing my temples. Part of me wants to scream at her, expose her, ruin her reputation. But the other part, just feels tired. That's because anger burns fast, he replied. It gives you energy for a moment, then leaves you hollow. I exhaled. Then what am I supposed to do? Just let her get away with it. He looked at me, calm, steady. Let her get away with it for now. I frowned. That sounds like giving up. It's not, he said. It's choosing your battlefield. His words lingered. I hated that they made sense. She's out there celebrating, I muttered. Taking credit for something I built from scratch. And I'm here, hiding. You're not hiding, he said. You're healing. There's a difference. I stared at the wall, at the small crack near the corner. Healing feels like doing nothing. Only if you mistake stillness for weakness. Something in me shifted at that. Stillness, I repeated quietly. You think silence can do more than confrontation? He smiled faintly. Silence unsettles people like her. They feed on reactions, rage, tears, defense. When you stop giving them that, they lose control. I leaned back, thinking. So you're saying, my revenge should be silence? Not revenge, he corrected softly. Resolution. You can't control what she did, but you can control who you become after it. His calmness frustrated me, but it also steadied something inside me. What if people keep believing her version of things? Then let them, he said. Truth doesn't need witnesses, it needs time. I went quiet. The hum of the clock filled the space. Every tick seemed to underline his words. After a while, I said, maybe I should start over. Focus on my work again. Good, he said. But not from anger. From purpose. I nodded slowly. I used to do everything just to be liked. To prove I was good enough. And now, he asked. Now, I hesitated, searching for the right words. Now I just want to be better than I was yesterday. Not better than her. He smiled again, small, approving. That's where real strength begins. I traced the rim of my mug absent-mindedly. You think she'll ever regret it? Maybe. But by then, you won't care. That thought surprised me. The idea of not caring felt impossible, but also freeing. He stood up, resting a hand on my shoulder. Work on yourself. Learn. Grow. People remember consistency, not chaos. After he left, I sat there alone for a long time. The anger hadn't disappeared, but it had changed shape. It wasn't sharp anymore. It was quiet, patient, waiting for the right moment. I opened my notebook, the one I'd abandoned after the betrayal. The first page was blank again. Clean. For a moment, I just stared at it, wondering if I still had the energy to begin. Then I picked up my pen. I didn't write about her. I wrote about me. About the lessons, the cracks, the strength I didn't know I had. The hurt was still there, but now it felt like fuel instead of fire. When I finally closed the notebook, I whispered to myself, she took my work. But she doesn't get to take me. Outside, the world went on, no applause, no spotlight, just the quiet hum of life. And somehow, that silence felt like victory. Because for the first time, I wasn't waiting for anyone to see me. I was learning to see myself. When I stopped reacting, the world suddenly became quieter. Her voice still reached me sometimes, sharp and coated in sugar, but I learned to let it pass, like wind brushing over glass. Did you hear what she said about you? Mina asked one afternoon, leaning across the table. She told everyone you only got that internship because you begged. I don't care, I said simply. Mina blinked. You don't care? No, I replied, keeping my tone steady. Let her say what she wants. People who listen will show who they really are. Mina studied me, surprised. You've changed. I got tired of breaking over things that don't matter, I said quietly. She smiled a little. It suits you. This calm thing. Her words stayed with me longer than I expected. Calm, it wasn't something I'd ever been before. It felt foreign, like wearing new skin. But I liked how it fit. Later that week, I saw her again, Elena, standing by the studio entrance, laughing too loudly. She looked different now, restless. I could feel her eyes on me when I walked past. Still pretending to be above everyone, she said, loud enough for others to hear. I turned to her, met her gaze, and simply said, no. Just trying to be better than I was. Her smile faltered for a second, like she hadn't expected an answer that calm. Better? You? Yes, I said. Me. Then I walked away. No explanations. No justifications. Inside the studio, Mr. Keller, my supervisor, greeted me warmly. You've been putting in good work lately. The new designs, sharp, confident. Feels like you finally found your voice. I guess silence helped, I said with a small smile. He chuckled. Don't underestimate quiet people. They're usually thinking 10 steps ahead. Those words hit deep. 10 steps ahead, that's what I wanted to be. During breaks, I started talking with Daniel, one of the new interns. He had an easy smile and listened without judgment. You're different from most people here, he said one day. How so? You don't chase attention. But somehow, people still notice you. I laughed softly. Maybe it's because I stopped trying. He tilted his head. You were trying before. Too much, I admitted. I thought if I gave more, people would value me more. Turns out, some people just take until there's nothing left. He nodded slowly. Then I'm glad you stopped giving to the wrong ones. That conversation stayed with me. Not because of his words, but because for the first time, I didn't feel the need to defend myself. As weeks passed, Elena's charm began to fade. People still laughed at her jokes, but the laughter sounded forced. Her comments about me grew sharper, yet emptier. Why doesn't she react? I overheard her whisper once, frustration lacing her tone. It's like she doesn't even care. Someone replied quietly, maybe she doesn't. Maybe she moved on. That sentence struck her harder than any argument I could have made. I saw it in her eyes when she caught me looking, anger mixed with confusion. At lunch one day, Mina said, she's falling apart, you know. The more you ignore her, the more desperate she gets. I'm not ignoring her, I said. I just stopped feeding her power. That's basically the same thing, Mina grinned. Whatever it is, it's working. I shrugged. Maybe karma just likes quiet people. Later, Daniel joined us, holding his tray. Mind if I sit here? Sure, I said. He smiled, settling in. I heard your project got shortlisted for the exhibition. Yeah, I said. Didn't expect it. Well, you earned it, he said. Everyone's been talking about how much your work's improved. I looked down at my plate, smiling faintly. I guess pain makes good fuel. He gave me a knowing look. Only if you burn it the right way. The table went silent for a while. Not awkward, just peaceful. When I left the cafeteria, Elena was standing near the entrance, arms crossed. So this is your new game, she asked. Playing saint so everyone forgets what you did. What I did. I repeated, keeping my tone even. You mean staying quiet while you talked? Her eyes narrowed. You think people actually like you now? I don't think about that anymore, I said. I just do my work. She scoffed. You're boring now. Good, I said softly. Boring is peaceful. She glared at me, waiting for me to rise, to fight back, but I didn't. I just walked past her, letting her anger echo behind me. That night, as I walked home, the city lights reflected off the rain-soaked streets. Everything shimmered, 1,000 tiny mirrors showing me who I was becoming. I thought about all the noise I used to make trying to prove my worth. Now, silence felt stronger than any defense I'd ever built. When I reached home, my phone buzzed with a message from Daniel. You handled her well today. Proud of you. I smiled, typing back, thanks. I'm learning silence can speak louder than words. He replied, it does. Especially when it comes from strength, not fear. I set the phone down and looked out the window. For once, I didn't feel like the wounded one. I felt grounded. Elena could keep talking. She could twist stories, pretend victory, but deep down, she knew something had shifted. Because silence wasn't my surrender anymore. It was my strategy. And this time, I was winning quietly. I heard Elena's presentation went poorly, Mina whispered, half smiling as she stirred her coffee. I looked up from my notebook. Poorly how? She messed up her stats, Mina said. Tried to blame the team, but Mr. Keller checked the files. Turns out she sent the wrong data herself. I let the words sink in for a moment, pretending not to care. That's unfortunate, I said, sipping my tea. Mina leaned closer. You're not even a little bit happy. I smiled faintly. I didn't make it happen. I just watched. She laughed. Sometimes karma doesn't need help. I didn't respond, but inside, something stirred, a quiet sense of balance returning to the world. Later that afternoon, I saw Elena in the hallway. She was pacing, phone pressed to her ear, her voice sharp. I told you to double-check those files, she snapped. Don't make me look like an idiot. The intern she was talking to, Liam, looked terrified. When he noticed me walking by, his eyes met mine for a second. I gave him a small nod, a silent gesture that said, "You're not alone." After she hung up, Elena turned toward me. Enjoying the show? Not really, I said evenly. It's not fun watching anyone struggle. Her lips curled into a mocking smile. Don't act saintly. You've been waiting for this. I held her gaze. If I wanted you to fail, I wouldn't have to wait. You're doing fine on your own. Her face twitched, just slightly, before she turned away. That night, Daniel messaged me. She lashed out at half the team today. Everyone's getting tired of her. I typed back, let her. People reveal themselves when pressure hits. He replied, you're enjoying this, aren't you? I hesitated before answering. Maybe a little. But not in the way you think. He sent a thinking emoji. Meaning? It's not revenge I like. It's watching truth do its work. He didn't respond right away, but a few minutes later, that's poetic. And terrifying. I smiled at the screen. Maybe it was. The next day, I walked into the office to find the team whispering. Elena stood near the projector, fumbling through her laptop. It was an honest mistake, she said loudly. Anyone could have sent the wrong file. Mr. Keller crossed his arms. Except the document you sent also had your initials in the footer. Her face turned pale. That's not proof He cut her off. Elena, own your mistake. The team deserves honesty. The silence that followed was thick. I could almost feel her panic fill the air. When she finally glanced at me, I didn't say anything. I just held her stare for a heartbeat, steady, quiet, unshaken. She looked away first. After the meeting, Daniel caught up with me in the hallway. You really didn't say a word, huh? What would be the point? I asked. He grinned. You're scarier when you're quiet. I shrugged. Silence doesn't lie. He walked beside me for a while. Do you ever think about forgiving her? Every day, I said. And every day, I decide not to, not yet. He nodded slowly. You're kinder than she deserves. Maybe, I admitted. But I don't want to turn into her either. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying her expression, shock, humiliation, fear. I'd wanted justice, not pity, but seeing her like that stirred something complicated inside me. Part of me wanted to say, now you know how it feels. Another part whispered, this isn't who you are. When I met my mentor the next morning, he noticed my silence. You've been thinking, he said. Too much, I admitted. He smiled knowingly. About her? About all of it. Watching her fall, it doesn't feel as good as I thought. He nodded. Because you're not built for revenge. You're built for growth. I just wanted balance, I said quietly. I wanted her to face what she did. And she is, he said. But balance doesn't mean satisfaction. It means peace. Then why don't I feel peaceful yet? He sipped his coffee before replying. Because you're still standing too close to the wreckage. Step back. Let time finish what you started. His words stayed with me the entire day. At lunch, I saw Elena sitting alone for the first time. No laughter, no crowd, no audience. She looked small, lost in her own silence. When her eyes met mine, I didn't look away. I just nodded, a quiet acknowledgement, not forgiveness, not mockery. She blinked, almost confused by the gesture. "You must be happy," she muttered. I shook my head. "No. Just done." She looked like she wanted to argue, but no words came. As I turned to leave, she said softly, "You think you're better than me now?" I stopped. "No," I said. "Just freer." That night, as I walked home, the streets were calm again. The same city lights reflected on the same wet pavement, but something inside me had shifted. Karma wasn't loud, it was patient. It didn't shout or punish with drama. It simply unfolded, quietly, with precision. I didn't need to push anymore. The silence I'd chosen months ago had done all the speaking I ever needed. And maybe, just maybe, that silence was her loudest lesson too. "I heard she's been missing deadlines again," Maya whispered, sliding her coffee cup across the table toward me. "You must be loving this." I smiled faintly, stirring the foam with deliberate calm. "Loving it? No. Let's just say I'm observing." She laughed quietly. "Observing? That's such a polite way of saying you're watching karma do her job." "I don't need to interfere," I replied. "She's doing a fine job dismantling herself." Maya leaned closer. "You're different now. You don't even flinch when her name comes up." I met her gaze. "Because I don't owe her my emotions anymore." The room buzzed softly around us, murmurs, clinking cups, the hum of an espresso machine, but my focus stayed inward. I'd waited months for this shift, not with vengeance, but with purpose. My silence had done more damage than any confrontation ever could. Later that afternoon, I ran into her, Layla, by the office elevators. Her eyes darted up, uncertain, as if gauging how much power she still had. "Oh, it's you," she said, forcing a brittle smile. "I heard your team's project got approved. Congratulations." "Thank you," I replied evenly. "Your feedback early on actually helped refine it." Her expression flickered, confusion mixed with suspicion. "Really?" "Of course," I said, pressing the elevator button. "You taught me a lot. Mostly what not to do." Her mouth parted slightly, but no words came out. The elevator doors opened, and I stepped in without waiting for her response. I caught her reflection in the metal, stiff, defensive, unsure. For the first time, she looked small. When I reached my floor, Adam from HR caught up with me. "Hey, big news, Layla's pitch didn't go through. Upper management wasn't happy with her report." I paused, feigning surprise. "Oh. That's unfortunate." "Yeah," he said, lowering his voice. "They said it lacked clarity and direction. Honestly, I think she's been distracted lately." "Maybe she's got too much on her plate," I said gently. He chuckled. "You're too kind. I'd be celebrating if I were you." "I don't need to," I replied. "Some lessons teach themselves." That night, I sat alone in my apartment, the city lights blinking through my window. My phone buzzed, a message from Layla. "Layla, can we talk?" I stared at the screen for a long moment before typing back. "Me, about what?" "Layla, things got out of hand between us. I just want to clear the air." "Me, I appreciate that, but I think silence has done more good than words ever could." The typing indicator blinked, then vanished. I locked my phone and exhaled slowly. I wasn't cruel, I was simply done giving her access to me. The next morning, during a meeting, she sat across the table, visibly restless. Her once commanding tone now cracked with uncertainty. When our manager asked for input, she stumbled through her points, while I presented mine calmly, clearly. Afterward, she cornered me near the hallway. "You think you've won, don't you?" I turned toward her. "This isn't a game." "It feels like one," she snapped. "You're just sitting back while everyone turns against me." "I'm not turning anyone," I said quietly. "They're just seeing what I saw a long time ago." Her voice softened suddenly. "I didn't mean for things to go like this." "Neither did I replied. "But here we are." She looked at me with something close to regret, eyes glossy, shoulders heavy. For a split second, I almost pitied her. "Almost. You could fix this," she murmured. "If you wanted to." "I could," I admitted, "but that wouldn't teach either of us anything." Her jaw tightened. "So this is your revenge?" "No," I said, meeting her gaze steadily. "This is your reflection." She froze. Then, without another word, she walked away. When she left, Maya appeared beside me, whispering, "That was brutal." "I didn't raise my voice," I said. "Sometimes quiet is louder." Maya grinned. "You've really changed." "I had to," I replied. Anger was her language. Silence became mine. That evening, the office group chat buzzed. Layla had been reassigned to a less prominent project. The news spread quickly, met with half-hearted sympathy and quiet relief. Maya texted me privately, "Guess karma's right on schedule." I typed back, "Always is." Still, as I packed my things, I couldn't ignore the flicker of empathy inside me. Watching someone fall, no matter how deserved, wasn't satisfying. It was sobering. When I stepped outside, the wind was cool against my face. I felt lighter, not because she had lost, but because I'd finally let go. Layla had built her power on manipulation, I'd rebuilt mine on restraint. And in that balance, I found peace, not in triumph, but in knowing I'd outgrown the need to prove anything at all. As I walked away from the building, my phone buzzed again. A message from Adam, "You handled today with real class." I smiled to myself. "No," I murmured under my breath. "I just stopped fighting battles that were already over." The streetlights flickered gold against the pavement as I kept walking, quiet, certain, untouchable. Maya found me sitting by the park bench, the same one where I used to vent endlessly about everything Layla had done. She handed me a cup of tea and said softly, "You look peaceful." "That's new." I smiled faintly. "I finally am." It's strange, isn't it? How quiet feels heavier when it's full of understanding instead of anger. She sat beside me. "So, that's it? No grand confrontation? No dramatic ending?" I shook my head. "There's no need. She already met her ending, just not the one I would have written back then." "What happened?" "She resigned last week. Said she needed time to rethink her choices. No one pushed her. The walls she built just stopped holding." Maya nodded slowly. "And you?" "I'm not gloating, if that's what you're asking," I said. "Honestly, I feel relieved. I don't need her downfall to define my rise." She leaned forward, smiling. "That sounds like closure." "It is," I admitted. "But it didn't come from watching her lose. It came from realizing I didn't have to win at her expense." Maya sipped her tea, studying me. "You've come a long way from the person who couldn't stop replaying every word she said." "I had to break down to rebuild," I said quietly. "Back then, I thought silence was weakness. Now I know it's discipline." A light breeze carried a folded piece of paper off the bench. I caught it before it hit the ground, an old letter. My letter. The one I'd written months ago but never sent. I'd poured every ounce of anger into it, every accusation I once wanted her to read. Maya glanced at it. "That's the one." I nodded. "Yeah. My final confrontation that never needed to happen. She smiled. You gonna read it one last time? No, I tore it gently in half. I already know what it says. And I don't need it anymore. The paper fluttered into the wind, scattering like the last pieces of a story that had already ended. Later that day, I stopped by the office to collect some files. Adam caught me by the door. Hey, I heard about Layla leaving. Must feel like poetic justice, huh? I gave a small laugh. Justice, maybe. Poetic? Not really. Just, natural. He grinned. Still, you handled everything better than anyone I know. I just stopped fighting, I said. That's when I started winning. As I turned to leave, a new intern passed by, Elena, nervous and eager, reminding me of who I used to be. She smiled shyly. You're the one who ran the last campaign, right? Everyone talks about how calm you are under pressure. Calm's just practice, I said. You'll learn. She laughed softly. I hope so. There was something symbolic in that brief exchange, a passing of the torch, maybe. She represented everything ahead of me, possibility, hope, a clean slate. On my way out, I found a small box in my drawer labeled Old Memories. Inside was the bracelet Layla once gave me, fake gold, but full of meaning at the time. I turned it over in my hand, tracing the tiny engraving, for partnership and trust. Maya's voice echoed in my head, you can't carry both pain and peace. I placed the bracelet back in the box and closed it for good. When I stepped outside, the air felt lighter, almost forgiving. Maya texted me, dinner tonight? To celebrate the end of your villain era? I laughed, typing back, it wasn't an era. It was a lesson. She replied with a heart emoji. As I walked down the street, the sunset painted everything gold. For a moment, I thought of Layla, wondering if she ever realized how much harm she'd caused, how much of herself she'd lost chasing control. But then I reminded myself, it wasn't my job to wonder anymore. Closure didn't come with an apology. It came when I stopped needing one. At the next corner, I dropped the torn remains of the letter into a trash bin and kept walking. My reflection in the shop window caught my eye, steady, unburdened. For the first time in a long while, I liked what I saw. Maya called just as I reached the cafe. You still there? Yeah, I said. I'm here. Right where I'm supposed to be. And I meant it. When the sun rose that morning, I felt like it was finally rising for me. Maya called as I packed the last of my things into a small suitcase. You're really leaving? She asked, half teasing, half emotional. I am, I said, zipping the bag. No dramatic goodbyes this time. Just, peace. You earned it, she replied softly. Where will you go first? I'm not sure yet, I said with a small laugh. Maybe somewhere quiet. Somewhere my thoughts don't echo with her voice anymore. Maya chuckled. That's poetic. I've had enough of bitterness to last a lifetime. I just want to feel new air again. She paused for a moment, then said, you sound lighter, you know. Like you finally put the past down. I did, I said, glancing around the now empty apartment. It wasn't easy. I kept waiting for closure, for an apology, but then I realized I didn't need either to move on. That realization, she said, is the real victory. After hanging up, I looked around one last time. The room that once held my doubts now held only sunlight and silence. On the windowsill sat a small clay figurine, a gift I had made long ago, back when I thought kindness alone could fix people. I smiled and whispered, you were enough, even then. At the cafe downstairs, I met Adam. He raised an eyebrow when he saw the suitcase. So it's true, you're leaving us. For now, I said. I need a change. He leaned back in his chair. You know, I used to think you were too soft for this world. I thought so too, I said with a grin. Turns out, softness isn't weakness. It's just a different kind of strength. He laughed. You really have changed. I had to, I said. If I stayed angry, she'd still own part of me. I can't let that happen. He nodded, looking thoughtful. Do you ever think you'll see her again? I shrugged. Maybe. But if I do, I hope I can look her in the eye and feel nothing, not hate, not pity, just freedom. That's powerful, he said quietly. Freedom usually is, I replied. After coffee, I walked toward the station. The streets were busy, alive, full of new faces and unfamiliar energy. For the first time in a long while, I didn't feel like I was walking away from something, I was walking toward something. My phone buzzed with a message from Maya. Remember, silence can be louder than words. I smiled. She was right. My silence wasn't emptiness anymore, it was presence. Control. Peace. I sat on a bench at the platform, breathing in the hum of travel, the sound of lives moving forward. A little girl beside me dropped her sketchbook, and I picked it up, handing it to her. You draw beautifully, I said. Thanks, she said, smiling. It's a story about a bird that learns to fly after being hurt. I paused. That's a good story, I said softly. As the train approached, I glanced at my reflection in the glass, steady, self-assured, unafraid. The conductor called, all aboard. I stepped onto the train and found a seat by the window. The city began to blur as it moved past me, streets, memories, people, all fading into distance. I didn't feel loss. I felt release. In my bag, a folded note rested between my books, something I'd written to myself weeks ago: you don't need revenge. You need peace. I smiled and tucked it back, whispering, mission accomplished. The train picked up speed, sunlight streaming through the windows like a promise. I closed my eyes and let it warm my face. For the first time, I wasn't defined by what I'd endured, I was defined by what I'd become. And as the city disappeared behind me, I didn't look back. I didn't need to. My silence said everything.